101 focuses on engaging his students in writing, learning. Everybody get under your desk.
Back in middle school, on that memorable late May day, marking the end of my middle school journey, an unexpected turn of events unfolded. Due to a recent concussion, my enthusiasm for the much-anticipated field day was dampened. While the rest of the school reveled in various games and activities, I found solace in the familiar glow of my Nintendo DS, occupying an empty science classroom. A silent spectator to the joyous commotion outside, I resigned myself to a day of quiet gaming. Little did I know that the tranquility of that classroom would be shattered by an unforeseen and chilling encounter. As I immersed myself in the digital world of my game, the classroom doors swung open abruptly, drawing my attention away from the pixelated adventure on the small screen. To my surprise, it wasn't one of the teachers performing a routine check on me. Instead, a stranger, a man well into his 50s, stepped into the room, firmly closing the door behind him. In my innocence, I'd assumed him to be a parent, perhaps visiting to bring lunch to a forgetful student. However, the atmosphere shifted when I inquired if he was searching for someone. His response delivered with an almost offended tone, setting off an alarm in my head. Before I could process the situation, he began advancing towards me, lifting his shirt to reveal a firearm secured in his waistband. "Look, kid, I'm gonna need you to come with me, or I'm gonna kill you," he uttered, the casualness of his threat sending shivers down my spine. Fear enveloped me as the reality of the danger I faced sank in, compounded by the fact that I had never encountered a real gun before. In a surreal sequence of events, the man seized my wrist, intent on pulling me towards the classroom door. But before we could step into the hallway, the blaring sound of the school's lockdown alarm shattered the eerie silence. The sudden noise seemingly startled the intruder, prompting him to release his grip and hastily flee to the nearby exit. Left standing in shock, I hesitated for a moment before seeking refuge back inside the classroom. It was only a matter of time before Miss Allen, my English teacher, returned. Sensing that something was amiss, she delicately explained that the school had been taken into lockdown due to an intruder, a situation that had now been resolved. Still in a daze, I recounted the harrowing experience, prompting Miss Allen to escort me to the police officer on the premises. The officer's subsequent explanation sent shivers down my spine. The man who had invaded our school had been under surveillance throughout the morning. As he approached the school building, vigilant individuals reported his suspicious behavior, prompting swift police response and initiating the lockdown that undoubtedly saved countless students from potential harm. The chilling revelation that the intruder had sinister intentions, specifically aiming to abduct children, left me grappling with the gravity of what could have transpired. The stark contrast between the carefree atmosphere of a school celebration and the stark reality of danger remains etched into my memory. Reflecting on that fateful day, gratitude wells within me for the timely intervention of the school's alarm system. Every day I acknowledge the impact that simple, jarring sound had on redirecting the course of events, sparing me and my peers from a potentially tragic outcome. In my high school days, an incident took place that changed my perception of safety within the school premises. It was a typical Tuesday, and our school was buzzing with the usual mix of classes, laughter, and the occasional hurried footsteps in the hallways. Now, I wasn't much of a troublemaker, but I had this knack for curiosity and a penchant for science experiments. On this particular day, fueled by a recent chemistry lesson, I decided to conduct a little experiment of my own during the lunch break. My plan was harmless, or so I thought. Armed with a few chemicals I'd managed to gather from the science lab, with the subtle art of minor pilfering, I set up a makeshift laboratory in a corner of the school courtyard. My intention was to create a visually stunning reaction, something that would amuse my friends and maybe earn me a bit of recognition for my makeshift scientific skills. As I mixed the chemicals, the concoction started emitting colorful fumes, much to my satisfaction. I was so engrossed in my little spectacle that I failed to notice the gathering crowd of curious onlookers. The courtyard became a makeshift amphitheater, with students abandoning their lunch trays to witness my impromptu chemistry show. Just as I was reveling in the attention, the school's assistant principal, a stern-faced figure known for his no-nonsense approach, stormed onto the scene. He wasn't impressed by my amateur chemistry exhibition and promptly ordered me to cease my experiment. Flustered but compliant, I packed up my makeshift lab, earning a stern lecture about the potential hazards of unauthorized chemical experiments on school grounds. However, little did I know that my escapade would set off a chain of events that would lead to an unexpected and unnerving lockdown. The chemicals I used, harmless in isolation, had triggered an unforeseen reaction when mixed with substances present in the courtyard. A sudden plume of smoke rose, accompanied by an acrid odor that alarmed both students and staff. In a matter of minutes, the school's alarm system blared to life, signaling an emergency lockdown. Students and teachers rushed to secure classrooms and find shelter. Once lively hallways transformed into a tense maze of uncertainty, with the gravity of the situation drawing on everyone involved. The assistant principal, who was visibly agitated, radioed for a comprehensive lockdown, suspecting a potential threat beyond my misguided experiment. As the lockdown took place, I found myself at the epicenter of an unforeseen crisis. My attempt at scientific showmanship inadvertently triggering a sequence of events that thrust the entire school into a state of heightened alert. Locked inside a classroom with my classmates, we anxiously awaited updates from the school administration. The atmosphere oscillated between nervous laughter and whispered discussions as rumors circulated about the nature of the perceived threat. Despite my intention to simply entertain with a harmless experiment, I found myself grappling with guilt as the consequences of my actions unfolded. The minutes stretched into what felt like an eternity. Law enforcement arrived promptly and conducted thorough sweeps of the school premises to ensure the safety of all occupants. The once bustling classrooms and hallways now echoed with hushed conversations and the occasional muffled siren in the distance. Eventually, the all-clear announcement crackled through the intercom, which signaled the end of the lockdown. As the doors creaked open, students cautiously emerged from their designated safe spaces. In the aftermath, I found myself facing the consequences of my actions. The assistant principal, while acknowledging the unintended nature of the lockdown, made it clear that such experiments were strictly prohibited on school premises. My parents were summoned for a stern discussion about the importance of adhering to school rules and regulations. Whenever I remember that day, I recognize the significance of accountability and the far-reaching implications of seemingly innocuous actions. Back in high school, there was this peculiar incident that unfolded during our science class. It was an ordinary day. Mr. Anderson, our science teacher, was attempting to make the periodic table seem less intimidating. The class was engrossed in our own worlds, trying to stay awake through the lecture. Now, there was this guy, Jake, known for his mischievous nature. During one of Mr. Anderson's monologues about the wonders of chemistry, Jake decided to pull a prank. He brought a small smoke bomb he had somehow gotten his hands on, planning to set it off discreetly when Mr. Anderson wasn't paying attention. As the lecture droned on, Jake seized what he thought was the perfect moment and discreetly lit the smoke bomb and placed it in his backpack to contain the smoke. Soon, the room filled with an unexpected haze, catching everyone off guard, including Mr. Anderson. Panic ensued as students exchanged bewildered glances, unsure of what was happening. Amidst the chaos, the fire alarm blared, signaling an evacuation. Students shuffled out of the classroom, coughing and squinting through the smoke. The commotion attracted the attention of other teachers and school staff, who joined the perplexed students outside the building. It didn't take long for the fire department to arrive, assessing the situation with furrowed brows. Jake, in a futile attempt to blend in with the crowd, wore a sheepish expression, the guilt evident on his face. Mr. Anderson, frustrated and bewildered, struggled to regain control of the situation. As the fire department determined that there was no real fire, the truth about Jake's prank quickly unraveled. The consequences were swift and severe. Jake found himself facing not only the wrath of Mr. Anderson, but also disciplinary action from the school administration. His attempt in injecting some excitement into a mundane science class had backfired spectacularly, disrupting the entire school and tarnishing his reputation. The aftermath of Jake's ill-conceived experiment was a series of mandatory assemblies on the importance of responsible behavior and the potential consequences of seemingly harmless pranks.